Hi, I'm Eddie Horan. I'm an adjunct professor of college writing here at Stockton, and today's presentation is about effective note-taking. We'll be looking at the note-taking process and some hints you can use with your notebooks and your notes to help you stay organized. So first of all, what is note-taking? Well, it's writing things down, of course. Now that's a little too easy though. What is effective note-taking? I call effective note-taking the ability to discern and jot down from lecture or conversation the most important parts. The ability to digest information and dissolve it down to the key points. Okay, so in other words, effective note-taking is not just writing everything you hear down, but it's the ability to determine from what you've heard what is important, what should I be making note of, and writing down those things, the things that will really matter. It's kind of like a journal of your academic progress if you go through your notebook, something like that. So now we'll start with some steps to taking notes effectively. First of all, you want to come to class, or I shouldn't say you want to come to class, but you must come to class prepared in order to write effective notes. First of all, you should read the syllabus that morning so that you know exactly what's going on in class. For me, what I do both as a student and as a teacher is I have at my desk on my cork board the different syllabi for the different courses that I'm teaching or the courses that I'm taking. And every day I flip and I look, okay, today is this date and here's what we're doing today. You should do something like that, or at least keep them readily available so that you can always look back and know exactly what the focus of the day is going to be. That's what I say when I say post it on your wall. Make it available for yourself. You should also, and this goes along with knowing what's next on the syllabus, you should also do all readings and assignments on time. So, why is that important? Well, a lot of the times if you're coming to class for a lecture or discussion, it's based on the readings you had to complete. So if you know, if you just did the readings, you know what was important there, so you know when something comes up in class, you know that that's important and that you should write it down. Things like that. Another thing you can do is you can sit in what's called the T of the classroom. That's the front row or straight down the center except for the very last seat. Studies show that students who sit in these seats pay attention better and they actually do better in courses overall. So sitting there, you'll limit distractions, and studies show that you'll be a little bit better off there. You also need to listen attentively, because if you're not listening, how do you know where the lecture or discussion is going? So first of all, you need to listen to the professor, you need to listen to your classmates, and you need to listen to yourself. You might have that little voice inside while somebody's speaking and it says, hey, here's an idea. Maybe that idea is important. Write it down. Also follow your contributions to the discussion. Anything you say, make sure you write it down if it proves to be important to the discussion. Next, you need to kind of mesh your attentive listening with your preparations for class. Because when you do that, as I noted earlier, you'll be able to identify common ideas and themes. Things that appeared in the readings and those same things that appeared in the conversation or your professor's PowerPoint or his lecture, whatever the case may be. So when you are able to determine which of these was repeated, you'll know, okay, that's something important. That's something I should jot down and know. The process doesn't end in the classroom, though. Your next step is crucial, that at some point in the next 24 hours you go back to those notes. And don't just read those notes, actually edit them. So now that you're removed from the class and you've had a few hours to process it, go back, look at those notes and say, okay, what did I write that really isn't important, that I can scratch out? What didn't I write that I remember coming up that really seemed important? Jot that down. Reorganize your notes if it seems to make more sense in a different order, something like that, which leads to the next point, rewrite them. Now this is beneficial in two ways. First of all, if you rewrite based on your edits, you'll now have a clean version of what you need to know. And second of all, studies show that the physical and mental process of moving a hand and constructing letters and words and sentences actually contributes to memory. So the more you write something, the more likely you are to memorize it. So if you rewrite your notes again, you're memorizing those facts so that you can use them in the future. You can also check with friends. Study groups are huge and important. We've got that whole big area in the library where groups can meet and do group work or talk about class, anything like that. Meet with your classmates or any friends who are in that class and compare notes. See what you wrote down that she didn't. See what she wrote down that you didn't. Things like that. Finally, you might also consider typing your notes. So rather than just writing them, you might want to back them up electronically. So if anything ever happens to your notebook, you have your computer, or if anything ever happens to your computer, you have your notebook. Something like that. Finally, and this is also important to learning information, is begin to apply that information. Not just to assignments and conversations and class discussions in the class that you learn them in, but in other classes. Perhaps what you learned in Class A contributes to something that you can use in Class B. Use that. The more you apply that information, the more comfortable you become with it. Also, you might consider reorganizing your notes as you learn new information. Courses are typically set up in sort of segments. So the first unit will focus on X, the second unit will focus on Y, and the third unit will focus on Z. Perhaps after you've completed units X and Y, you realize, you know what? This point from Y actually really contributes to point X. Let me add that in there. At the same time, if you find something in X that really doesn't belong there and you think it makes better sense in Y, slip it in over to Y, and you can make your notes make more sense for you. Finally, study your notes. Study them for quizzes. Study them for tests. Study them for assignments. That's the point, isn't it? To be able to take notes and to be able to use that information. So don't just take the notes and leave it there. Use them for other assignments so that you're actually using your notes and that you haven't done them for nothing. Now that we've talked about this process for effective note-taking, I'll also give you some hints and some tips that'll help you with your notebook organization and the organization of your notes themselves. First of all, do what you need to write your notes fast without sacrificing legibility. I mean, if you're going to write so fast that you can't read your handwriting later, then you might as well not have taken any notes at all, because you can't use them. So find a balance for yourself between speed and legibility, and also develop for yourself a sort of shorthand, different abbreviations that you can use. If you have words and phrases that come up all the time, use acronyms for them, or just a bunch of letters that stand for them that you'll be able to know. Okay, when I use CGAB, that stands for whatever. Random example there for you. Also, again, you might consider using your laptop in the class. Now, granted, some professors don't like you to use computers in the classroom just because you can get distracted on Facebook or something like that. But if your professor allows you to use your laptop, and you have a laptop and you type fast, consider using that and using your laptop for your notes. We'll talk about organization a little later for physical notebooks, but I'll note that if you type up all your notes on your laptop or your personal computer to begin with, you should actually set them up in different files. Similar to what you would do with your notebooks. Separate notebooks for different subjects, separate folders for different subjects. And within you might have a folder for a particular semester. Within that folder, you might have folders for the courses that you took that semester. And then even within those courses, you might have different subfolders for notes and assignments, things like that. Again, just to keep yourself organized so you can automatically find where your notes are on your computer. If you take your notes only on a computer, make sure you back up those files to something outside your computer. Whether you have a Dropbox account or a flash drive, back those up, because if your computer crashes or your computer goes missing or water falls on it, whatever, you'll have those notes saved somewhere else so you're not completely lost. Again, following what I was just saying about keeping electronic notes organized, and this goes for both electronic notes and physical written notes, keep them organized by giving certain information at the top of the page. At the top of each page, you should put the date so that you know which class session this was. And if you have the syllabus, you can look back to that again and see, okay, what did we discuss? You can write down the different readings that you had to do for that. Okay, so what readings were included? And of course, the subject matter for that lecture or discussion. What is a short phrase that summarizes what we talked about today? so that you can write that down and you can flip through your notes and know, okay, this is the page that I need. Here's the information I need. I also would always do a different page for each new session or each new topic. So if on Tuesday we talked about the mating habits of crows, I'd write that at the top of the page, and we might come to halfway through a page for the notes. And then rather than continuing on that same page, I'd go to a fresh page for Thursday, which might be the mating habits of dolphins, if we're talking about mating habits in this class for some reason. I don't know. But again, just keep those separate on different pages so that you can find them easily. Also, and I can't stress this enough, use separate notebooks and separate folders for your classes. Now, a lot of the times they sell those multi-section notebooks where you've got room for several different subjects. And okay, those are good, but they do get heavy if you have a couple of those. And second, sometimes you flip, okay, which section is which? You know, I find that it isn't helpful. So I always recommend getting a smaller notebook for each course that you take. So one subject or binder per note for course, one folder per course for all the different handouts that you have to do, and don't combine them. Now you might be wondering, if I'm using a separate notebook for each course and I'm not using a large notebook that contains all my stuff, what if I bring the wrong notebook? Well, this next tip will help you not do that. Will help you always bring the right notebook. Color code your notebooks and folders. For example, all throughout my college career, I used yellow notebooks and yellow folders for philosophy courses. So I did that so that anytime I had my philosophy class, I said yellow, I grabbed it and I went out the door, and I always had my materials. You can do that, and of course, if you're taking, say, more than one philosophy course per semester, that might be a problem. So you can use two different yellow notebooks if you like, and then label them, so that you know, okay, yellow's philosophy, which one is which? Well, I have my label on the front of the notebook that says here's which course this is. So you know, based on the color and the little note on the front of your notebook, that you've got the right one. And in case you doubted me, here is a very, very small sampling of my notebooks. You can see some philosophy there, some blue, and I always use black for science-y courses. So that's what that is. Also, I talked about if your notes ever go missing. To help make that less of a problem, put some contact information in your notebooks and your folders. The first thing I do in any notebook or folder I get is I open it up to the inside of the cover, and I write my name, I write my phone number, and I write my email address. If you're anything like me, you're prone to leaving a notebook here or there, and then you say, where did I leave it? If you lose it and somebody finds it, they can call you. If they bring it to the Lost and Found on campus, the Lost and Found can call you. So it'll save that step of running around and saying, where did I leave it? Lost and Found has it, go there and get it. Now here's the point of the presentation where if we were face-to-face, I'd say if you have any questions, bring them up now. Of course, you can't ask me questions through the computer screen, at least not literally, because you can still email me. You've got my email address there. It's harani@stockton.edu. And you can also find me in J105, the tutoring center, where I share the adjunct office with the other general studies adjuncts. So if you have any questions, you say, hey, Eddie, I wanted to ask about something you said, you can email me. You can come find me in the tutoring center, and we'll make that happen. So thank you, and happy note-taking.